Hi, everyone. I want to do a little bit of a lecture capture for the first quiz to give you kind of an idea of what you are missing or what you would have seen if you were in the classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and go through some PowerPoints for you. Here we are. So theories, I want to compare the theories because these are theories that you're going to see on that first quiz. They probably will have a lot of matching questions that are involved with them. So the psychoanalytic theorists that we talk about in this course are Freud and Erikson. Freud was more of a psychosexual theorist, and as you can see, his theories revolved around the unconscious mind, as well as he spent a lot of emphasis in the early childhood experiences. He was a neurologist, so he was looking at people's brains and he was finding that there wasn't anything physically wrong with them. However, there was something that was resulting in abnormal behavior. So he determined that the unconscious, and that's a key word for Freud, was largely responsible for the issues that he saw. The theory that Erikson proposed, on the other hand, is psychosocial in nature. It basically looks at different stages of people's lives, and it starts at birth and ends at old age. So it is very different than Freud's. Freud's pretty much all of the emphasis was at the beginning of life, and then he grouped adolescence to adulthood all in one stage. So Erikson was the first one to really take that lifespan approach and look from birth to old age, each stage having a very distinct positive or negative resolution of the crisis involved. When it comes to Piaget, he was a cognitive theorist, and his key concepts are the idea of schemes. Oops, sorry. Don't click. The idea of schemes, the idea of assimilation, and accommodation. Okay, so you have an idea or a way that you do something that would be a scheme. It's how we make sense of our world. They are based on maturation as well as experience. When you take new information in from the environment, that is assimilation. And when you make it fit into what you already know, that existing scheme, then that is your accommodation. So those are the three key concepts of Piaget that you will want to know, probably in a matching format for that first quiz. This is a comparison side by side of, this is Piaget's stages. So just so you know, this is visual only. For this unit, I only want you to know summary information. When we get into the different stages, then we will cover these very specific stages in more depth. So just for an idea of how his theory looks, how it lays out, this is just for your information right now. Okay, another cognitive theorist is Vygotsky, and he was pretty influential on this whole idea of the zone of proximal development. It looks at what a child can do on their own versus what they can do with assistance. So that would be the lower level to the upper level. The scaffolding process is how they get from point A to point B. And as you can see, he really looked at the social development. So language and social relations were extremely important in cognition. Pavlov, if you guys remember the dog, he was a Russian physiologist who was actually trying to study digestion and actually found that the dog was smart enough that when he heard the neutral stimulus of his feet walking down the hall, that he would actually start drooling, kind of linking that neutral stimulus to the unconditioned stimulus of the meat powder. And so you had this pairing that was happening over and over again. And then next thing you know, it becomes a conditioned stimulus. So when the dog would hear the sound of the metronome, the sound of the feet, he would respond by drooling, even though there was no meat powder present. Then the other side of conditioning, you've got Skinner and operant conditioning. This is different because we're talking about voluntary behavior. Consequences happen after the behavior, and if they're positive, you're going to have reinforcement where the behavior is more likely to occur in the future. And if it's negative, you're going to have punishment, and that behavior will be less likely to happen in the future. Bobo and Bandura are the pieces of the social cognitive theory. This one was basically children watched a model, and the model was violent with the Bobo doll, and he found that the children would imitate that, and he did a whole study. So this theory looks at behavior, environment, and cognition. And then if you're thinking, well, some of those sound good to me, not just one, but some of them, you could choose to use an eclectic theoretical approach. And that means you're just going to choose the best pieces from each. So I hope that you find this helpful, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.